Hey, we're finding inverses of a given trig equation. Fun stuff. Finding inverse, if you recall, we have covered finding inverses from unit 4, I believe. So this is the same steps. However, it's fun trig stuff. So for example, if you look at my first example, it's a beautiful looking equation. Y equals 4 cosine. Is 2 minus 1, and what we have to do is find the inverse of this function, of this equation. Now this is a cosine function, and when we're finding inverse of it, our answer will have cosine inverse involved in it. Just know that your answer has to have cosine of inverse because you're finding inverse. So let's begin. What was the first step? First step was to swap x and y. That's cool, right? There we go. 4 cosine y plus 2 minus 1. Well, cool. I have swapped x and y. And here's the inverse. Oh, but wait, there's one problem. Y is not isolated anymore. And now the fun part begins here because I'm trying to now isolate y so that I have the function in y equals terms. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to add 1 to both sides first. Right, add 1 to get rid of that. Now I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides. There we go, we're getting close. Y is now surrounded by a plus 2 and then a cosine. Now some might be tempted to go ahead and subtract 2 from there and get rid of that, but whoopsies, you cannot do that because y plus 2, or think of them as bounded by cosine. You have to get rid of the cosine to get inside of the parentheses. The cosine needs to go away first, is my point. Then the question is, how do we get rid of cosine? To get rid of cosine, the only way to do that is to cosine inverse it, which means basically if I go ahead and cosine inverse, then the cosine and the cosine inverse cancel with each other. That's the only way to cancel trig functions. But can I just do that to one side? Nope, can't do that, which means cosine inverse the other side as well. There we go. Now the y plus 2 are independent. They have come out of their little hole they were trapped in. There we go. And you can see how cosine inverse has popped up. The only other thing is I have to get rid of the 2. So subtract 2 from both sides. But cosine inverse x plus 1 over 4 is its own entity. Do not get the minus 2 associated with it. So the minus 2 is on the side. And what I have created here is a brand new function. This is the inverse of the original function. So I'm just going to call it the inverse function. If you want to call this 1, which was the original function, here